All right, it's 4 a.m. and I have some more thoughts. Yeah, let's make a video before I'm caffeinated. That'll go well. Anyway, so I don't know if it's this Nick Cage patch or a patch later this year in 2023, but the anti-camping mechanic was put in the PTB here a while ago, and that started conversations again about tunneling, slugging, and camping. Multiple different play styles that are not entirely appreciated, and I think it's best to address why those play styles are used and why a lot of these mechanics they're going to be putting in to stop it won't work. Take like earlier this year, we did the anti slugging mechanic they tried in the PCB. They tried that with the, the fourth person down Mori, to where if you were the last person alive, unhooked or whatnot, you were just insta-moried. And so that would end the game. And that PTB turned into fucking hell. That was, instead of like trying to stop slugging, all it did was make everyone want to slug. The challenge of trying to get a 4-man slug so you could get the auto Mori right there at the end. And so that really didn't work out. And then they did just here recently the anti-camping mechanic, to where if you were too close to the hook as killer, it allowed them to get off the hook. And I think it's best to address each of these different play styles individually and why these mechanics probably won't work. Starting with the anti-slugging mechanic, that may have worked if they hadn't have tried to introduce the auto Mori system into the game, because then it kind of turned into a challenge. Can I Mori all 4 people and get or can I down all 4 people and get the Mori off? That's kind of what it became before everyone gets up off the ground, and it just evolved into just even more slugging on that PTB. And on top of that, even without that mechanic, it still wasn't probably going to work, because the ability to get yourself off the ground just meant that your teammates no longer felt like helping you. Like, oh, I don't need to come and heal them or get them off the ground. Because right now, if you're slugged and someone comes up, they're not, if they have time, they're more than likely going to heal you completely and put you in a better position than you were before. And the killer slugging kind of gets hurt by that, because now instead of having someone on a hook, there's people full health. Yeah, you slowed down the game a bit, but depending on how you played it, it could come back and hurt you. That's kind of all the way slugging's been. If, they have the right perks or they have a well-coordinated team, the slugging's only going to slow them down, but not necessarily help you win the game. And I think that's kind of what the slugging mechanic they introduced into that kind of hurt. Because without someone coming, no one felt the need to come and heal you or pick you up off the ground. So no one did. And so you're just constantly being, knocked on the ground, slugged, while the killer goes around and tries to spread as much pressure as possible. And you're just kind of left always to fend on your own, because everyone else is like, well, you can get yourself off the ground. You don't need my help. So it kind of made it worse. And then you had the anti-camping mechanic brought in. So, and they tried this on the PTB, and I don't really hang around hooks, because I'm always trying to get into when I'm playing killer, always into another chase, always trying to be in chase. I can't just stand at a hook, because against a good team, if you're just face camping a hook, the other 3 people are just going to do gens. So that really doesn't work. But I think it's important to look at the reasons why people slug, tunnel, and camp. So slugging is usually a way to build pressure. If you can get multiple people on the ground, less people you have to worry about. In certain situations, like, you're running an infectious fright build, or you down somebody and realize someone's right there, it's, advantageous of you to slug, because you're actually adding pressure to the game. Even if the first person you slug gets up, you still now have kept at least 3 people busy. 1 person to come get them off the ground, 1 person on the ground, and the person you're chasing. Now, slugging is usually a way to try to just win out and add pressure. So that's like something that's been intrinsic in part of the game. The reason people don't like it is because you have people that'll slug you out until you bleed to death, which, yeah, is a crappy playstyle, but teach his own. You know what? It's not against the rules. It's just an annoying, tactic to face against. It still can be effective. But at the same time, slugging is only as effective as the survivor team is bad, if that makes sense. If they're a really coordinated team, slugging isn't really it's going to slow them down, but not do much else. Against a bad solo queue team that with no coordination, you're going to tear right through them. So that's one of those like hit or miss strategies. Tunneling has always been the most effective way to take care of something. Wow, I didn't realize the video clip in the background was ending, so we're just going to reset that. How about that? That'll work. Tunneling has been one of the most effective strategies to remove someone from the game to help win. Like true, solid, steady-on tunneling, because I think most of you don't know what tunneling is, and that's another video in and of itself right there. But true tunneling is focusing on that one person and getting that one person out of the game. The second they're unhooked, you're back on them. That way you can like get someone out before the first, second, or third gen's done, and then it massively swings in your favor. So tunneling is something that's done by those that really want to win. You are removing someone. A 1v3 is a lot weaker than a 1v4. And that's just the way the game is, because now every action you do compounds upon the survivors with the less people, because just having one less person means now, oh, if someone's slugged and someone's hooked and now there's only one person to save everybody, no one gen, like it can just snowball from there. So tunneling will always be effective, and there's not anything you can really do to stop it, because you can't take it out of the game. I know a lot of people think you should have some sort of mechanic to stop people from tunneling, but I'm like, you can't do that without giving too many people too much power on the survivor side, because sometimes you have to. Like back in the day with the old DS Unbreakable Dead Hard build, before they nerfed that out of existence. That was one of those, like, you couldn't, it left you with no options as killer to try and deal with survivor tactics. Like if you slug somebody, they're going to get off the ground with Unbreakable. If you picked them up, they were just going to DS you. So they got left in this free zone where they could do whatever they wanted, and they just ran to gens and started doing gens immediately because they didn't have to worry about you. If you knocked them down, they were going to DS and then run away. They were going to get all the progress on that gen they could. So if you try taking tunneling out of the game, that's what's going to happen. You're just going to have people try to, oh, well, I don't have to worry about the killer anymore. He can't tunnel me. I'm just going to finish gens until he can actually attack me again. So whatever mechanic you would try to introduce to stop that would eventually just be used as a weapon and would become completely miserable to go against, because it would just be given like, oh, well, I unhooked him. I guess they just get to finish a gen now, which I know a lot of survivors think, because they straight up say that a lot of the time. But anyways, now you get to face camping. And this is the reason why this new mechanic coming in is going to fail. Face camping isn't a winning strategy, or basement bubble, or anything in which the killer never leaves the hook. It is not a winning strategy. This is not something you do if you are actively trying to like 3K or 4K a game, because it really doesn't work. Against even somewhat of a decent team, you're going to get a 2K most of the time. In fact, almost all the time. I've tried basement bubble builds in the past to actually run to see how effective they were. And out of 10 games, I had one game in which people actually showed up into the basement, and I managed to get all 4 people down there. Every other game played out the exact same way. One person went in the basement, everybody heard a chainsaw, everybody knew they were in the basement, nobody heard my terror radius, nobody came to the basement because they knew what was going on. So most of those games I got a 1K, some of them I got a 2K, because by the time the person in the basement was dead, they'd gotten 3 gens done and were working on the second to last and last gen. So it was basically like, if I got a second person, I would get it as the last gen popped, and I'd just have to camp their corpse. So it doesn't work. Now, the reason why people face camp, if it's not to win, is to piss you off. That is the main reason people do it. They're not actively trying to win the game. They're trying to farm your salt. That's all they care about. They want to see your reactions on Facebook or Twitter or whatever have you, in which people complain. They want you to start yelling at them in the post-game chat because they find it funny. That's their form of entertainment. You know, I had a conversation with somebody on Facebook that does face camp, and even said that the new face camping mechanic wouldn't do anything, because he's like, yeah, I don't do it to win. I don't care if you can pop yourself off the hook. I'll just down you again and put you back on the hook, because what he said was, people take this game too seriously, so I play it like this just to piss them off, because it's just a game and who cares. And that's a lot of their reactions, is if you don't react to their salt, they just GG's, move next. Sometimes they'll even joke with you if you think they're funny. I get a lot of people that have done it when I'm streaming, and I've never once cared. And if you don't care, they'll sit there and joke with you and whatnot. They're only doing it just to piss people off. So if you introduce a mechanic that then helps them, because if you can pop yourself off hook, and they can just down and take you back to the hook again. God damn, does this video not last that long? Holy shit. And they can, shit. Wow, this is going to be a great video. There we go. We'll just start it from here again. Oops. Anyways, if you can just pop yourself off hook and then they can put you back on there again, you're going to be even more pissed off. So if anything, the anti-camping mechanic is going to make it worse because now it's more hilarious for them. Sure, they're going to get like maybe one person dead the whole game, but that one person is going to be so pissed off, they're just going to feed off of that fucking all evening. So you can't address or fix a problem in a game if the punishment that you can come up with is to make it harder for them to win. But if the goal isn't for them to win, then the punishment doesn't do anything. In fact, like I said, it incentivizes them to carry on with it because they know people are going to get even more pissed off. So each one of these mechanics that survivors don't like has to be treated differently because they're going about it in different ways. You can't get rid of slugging because you need it to maintain pressure. It's hard to take out tunneling without it being turned into a weapon to complete things. And you can't punish face camping because they don't care about the punishment. So I know everybody just absolutely loves to hate on these playstyles, but they're part of DBD. That is what is in the game. It is not leaving the game anytime soon. And any, action you take to try and correct it isn't really going to solve the problem, but actually maybe in some cases make things worse. So that's my thoughts at 4 a.m. I'm going to finish my coffee. Y'all have a good morning.